Everyone, Tam's here. I'm back with a couple of weeks of weekly wrap ups in my Midori Traveler's Notebook. A lot has been happening over the past few weeks, and I have a couple of highlights to share with you before we get started. For gardening adventures, I visited the Spring Obsession in Lakeland, Florida. All right, here's some of my goodies from Spring Obsession. Excuse all the pollen. It is crazy right now. We're in spring. But I got this really interesting, people are doing really interesting things with driftwood and pieces of wood and planting air plants and bromeliads and things like that in there. So I picked this up and it's got a bloom on it. And what I'm planning to do, it's got a hanger. And I'm planning to hang it right up here at some point. So anyway, you get an idea. But I'm letting him get acclimated to my courtyard. Also got this little guy. It's an air plant in a shell. And it looks fun. I'm not sure where I'm going to put him, but I'm just hanging him up at the moment, and then we'll figure it out. And then I got this beautiful orchid, which I love. So pretty. Last but not least, a friend gifted me 6 orchids that were her mother's. Take a look at my orchid courtyard now. I had family in town for over a week, and to get outside, we took a trip over to Caladesi Island State Park and took the ferry over to the island and spent the day there. It was absolutely beautiful. To create art, we spent quite a bit of time in my craft room, and my niece practiced calligraphy. I explored junk journaling for the first time, and we just hung out and had some fun. And with all the family in town, we had some fun. We cooked up a big low country boil and visited one of our favorite Italian pizza joints in Tampa Bay. Here are this week's materials. I actually have some new stamps that I have invested in for some mail art, and I wanted to use those. I'm really into neutral colors and vintage things all of a sudden, so just bear with me, but this is the mood I've been in for the past couple of weeks. I've got this great little bee. I found this at Michael's. I have this awesome vintage sewing machine I found in the clearance rack at Hobby Lobby. And I have these words, just some random words, and I found these at a clearance rack at Michael's. For washi tape, I have this set of Tim Holtz tapes that I found marked down at, I can't remember if it was JoAnne's or Hobby Lobby, but it was one of those craft stores and it was marked down like 40% off. I love these. For pens, I am trying out these Micron pens by Sakura because lots of people rave about them. I've got a set of different tips. This is a 0.1, 0.1. I have the 0.5, and I have the 0.3. And the reason I want to try these out, they are highly recommended by lots of people. And one of the things I miss is I used to love writing with Sharpie pens, but in the Midori, Sharpies will bleed. They bleed through almost every paper and notebook I've ever had. But these give me the same feel and they don't bleed. So I'm very anxious to play with these. I have a brochure, takeout menu from a restaurant we ate at this week. And as always, my Midori insert is the number 019. Okay, so here is the layout from 2 weeks ago. On the right side where I do my little creative process, I decided to sketch out the air plant in the shell that I found at the Spring Obsession in Lakeland, Florida. I also received a new wax seal that has my Paper Tams logo, and I wanted to include that and document that that arrived this week. For inspiration this week, I did make a pretty large journal entry because I've been very much pulled in a certain direction, and I wanted to explore that, so I made a few notes about what's happening there. I've been very attracted to a particular ladies' crafts on YouTube, and I'll share more of that as I explore more of it. But she makes these very beautiful junk journals, and I just couldn't figure out what it was about it that I loved, but I eventually figured it out. So I'll speak more to that in just a few seconds. I used one of my new rubber stamps, and I found this great old vintage gardening stamp, which I thought went well with the theme for this week since I was very much working in the garden. Okay, and then here is the layout for last week. And again, I've used the rubber stamps and the washi tapes. I did vote on Tuesday in that madness, and I saved my sticker. I earned that. I made several notes about what we did this week, about going over to Caladesi Island to get outside, visit a state park. And I finally figured out what it was that was really drawing me in the past couple of weeks. And it's that French brocante style. That means secondhand in French. And so it's really just antique. But there's something about the way the French do it that I'm very much attracted to. It's less frills, less pinks and roses, and more grays and blues. Lots of colors that remind me of oysters. So I've been very attracted to that. And I have been watching over and over this lady's flip through of a junk journal that she's been doing. And it's just inspired everything. I even made my first junk journal for my mom. And if you're interested in what I've been doing, I'll be glad to share that later. But I'll link the video below. There's several, but I'll link one of them below that's really just caught my attention. And for some reason, that's what I am drawn to this week. And there's a little piece of the takeout menu from the Italian restaurant that we visited. And that's pretty much it. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye.